We spend so much of our time looking up, searching for answers in the stars. But what if the biggest secrets, the most profound discoveries aren't out there? What if they're right here, buried deep beneath our feet?
I mean, ancient tales from all over the world talk about these hidden worlds, right? Passages built to escape some catastrophe, or to talk to gods, or maybe to hide secrets that were meant to be forgotten. So today, that's exactly where we're going. We're going to explore some of these mind-blowing places, from the sprawling hidden cities of Turkey to the bizarre cosmic tunnels of Mexico, all the way to some truly baffling caves in China.
So for literally thousands of years, people all over the planet poured just unbelievable amounts of effort into digging and carving these huge structures underground. And the one question that still keeps archaeologists up at night is just why? Turns out the reasons they did it are just as deep and complex as the tunnels they built.
All right, first stop on our journey, we're heading to Cappadocia, in Turkey, because this is where one of the first absolute smoking gun proofs of these hidden worlds was found. And the best part? It was a complete accident. And this discovery, it completely rewrote the book on what we thought ancient people could do.
So get this, it's the 1960s. A guy is just doing some home renovations, maybe trying to expand his basement. He takes a sledgehammer to a wall, and instead of finding more rock, he finds a dark, empty space. A tunnel. And that tunnel just kept going, leading to another and another, just spiraling down into the earth. What he'd found was the entrance to an entire city that had been lost to time, sealed up and forgotten for hundreds of years.
Yeah, we now call this place Derinkuyu. And the scale, it's hard to wrap your head around it. Archaeologists figure this underground city could have held up to 20,000 people. Not just people, either. Their animals, their food, everything.
And it's not just wide, it goes deep. So far, they've found at least 18 separate levels, going down a crazy 280 feet into solid volcanic rock. To give you some perspective, that's like taking a 25-story building and flipping it upside down underground. And remember, this was all carved out by hand.
But here's the kicker. Derinkuyu wasn't just some cramped hideout. It was a fully engineered, totally self-sufficient city. They had these brilliant ventilation shafts that brought fresh air all the way down to the bottom levels. They had wells for fresh water, huge communal rooms. They even had storage rooms, wineries, oil presses, and little chapels. And for security, just these massive half-ton stone doors they could roll in front of the tunnels to block out anyone trying to get in. Incredible.
So this brings us to the big debate, right? What was this place for? Was it just a bunker? I mean, that makes sense. The area was under constant threat from invaders, so being able to just vanish underground would be a huge advantage. But wineries, chapels, that stuff suggests more than just temporary shelter. It points to something deeper. It tells us they weren't just trying to survive down there, they were trying to live. They were carrying on their entire culture, their community, their faith, all in the dark, building this society layer by layer for generations.
Okay, so from the very practical world of hiding from invaders in Turkey, we're going to shift gears. Our journey now takes us to Mexico, to the Great Pyramids of Teotihuacan. Here, the tunnels weren't about survival, they were about something far more spiritual and way more mysterious.
So, flash forward to 2003. Some really heavy rains open up a sinkhole right near the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. An archaeologist named Sergio Gomez gets lowered down inside to check it out. And what does he find? An entrance to a tunnel. But this one had been deliberately blocked with huge stones. It had been sealed shut for almost 2,000 years. Whatever was in there, they really didn't want anyone to find it.
When they finally got inside, what they found was just wow. It was a treasure trove of offerings. We're talking thousands of perfect artifacts, all carefully arranged along this 330-foot tunnel. Things like gorgeous jade statues, seashells that came from hundreds of miles away, intricate pottery, and these really bizarre, otherworldly sculptures. It was obvious right away, this place wasn't for living in. This was a place to leave gifts for the gods.
But the craziest discovery, the thing that really blew everyone's mind, was at the very end of the tunnel. In these hidden chambers, they found large pools of liquid mercury. Yeah, liquid mercury. This stuff is super rare and super toxic. The thinking is that in the torchlight, it would have shimmered like a river or a lake, a symbolic gateway to the underworld, a literal reflecting pool between the world of the living and the world of the dead.
So all of this adds up to one incredible theory. This tunnel wasn't a shelter at all. It was a carefully built, symbolic model of the entire cosmos. They even found that the walls were dusted with powdered minerals like pyrite, fool's gold, so that the whole place would glitter in the dark, just like a starry night sky. It was a sacred, man-made underworld, a place where priests could literally walk into the darkness to perform their rituals and speak with the gods.
All right, for our last couple of stops, we're going even deeper into the mystery. We're talking about places that are really hard to explain, places that push the reasons for building underground into some strange territory, the psychological and, well, the completely unknown.
First, let's go high up into the Andes Mountains in Peru, to a place called Chavin de Huantar. The tunnels here weren't for living in, and they weren't for leaving gifts. No, they were basically acoustic laboratories built to mess with your mind. The passages are designed in this really specific way, where narrow tunnels suddenly open up into these huge chambers. It manipulates sound, creating bizarre echoes and weird resonances. The idea is that priests use these tunnels during ceremonies to totally disorient people, to literally alter their perception of reality. A pretty intense and probably terrifying experience.
But the biggest mystery of all, for my money, is in China. So, back in 1992, some local farmers decide to drain a pond on their land. Pretty normal stuff. But as the water gets lower and lower, they realize there's no bottom. Instead, they find the entrance to a gigantic, man-made cave. And it wasn't just one. They ended up finding more than 24 of these things. We call them the Longyu Caves.
And again, the sheer scale of this is it's almost unbelievable. Scientists estimate that about 1 million cubic meters of stone was carved out by hand to create these massive caverns. That would be a huge engineering project even with the technology we have today.
And here's where it gets truly weird. Ancient China is famous for being one of the most detailed record-keeping societies in all of history. They wrote everything down. And yet, for the Longyu Caves, there is nothing. Zip. Zero. No historical records, not even a local myth or legend. We have no idea who built them, why they built them, or how long it took. It's like an entire civilization carved out this massive underground world and then just, poof, vanished, taking the secret with them.
So, what have we learned? When you pull it all together, you see this powerful, recurring human drive to go underground. And it's not for just one simple reason. It's for this whole spectrum of needs, everything from basic survival to deep spiritual faith to, well, something else entirely.
Think about it. In Derinkuyu, people went underground for protection, right? To save their bodies by escaping a dangerous world. In Teotihuacan, they went underground for worship, to connect with the soul and build a gateway to their gods. But at Longyu, we're just left with this huge question mark. A purpose so massive, yet so secret, that it feels like it was intentionally erased from history.
What all these incredible places prove is that there's a whole other world hiding right under the surface of our own. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If these huge, complex structures could lie forgotten for thousands of years, just waiting to be stumbled upon by accident, what else is down there? What other huge chapters of our own story are still buried, just waiting to be found?